Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel if you're new here. Hi, my name is Melleny. If you'd like to get to know me a little bit better, all my social media links are linked down below in the description box, so be sure to check that out if you're interested in getting to know me. I think let's talk about all the books I read in September. I sat throughout September thinking, I'm just not reading enough. I actually watched someone else's video as well where they felt the same, and I think in August I had this amazing reading month. My ratings were really good. I read a whole lot of books. I read like 17 books in August, and then when I was looking at the books I'd read in September, I was like, that doesn't seem right. Like, I should be reading more. And I think that has a lot to say about like reading culture at the moment, where you have to read so much and everything. I'm just really happy actually, like now that the month is over and I've had a look at things, I'm now really grateful that I got to still read like 10 books, because last year this time I was struggling to read 3, and that just says a lot because reading isn't something that is constant. Like reading moves and how much you read in a month, it's never constant, and it's constantly changing because life is constantly changing. So I think having to put that pressure on yourself just makes things so much more worse, because you're sitting there and you're going, I need to read more, I need to read more. But meanwhile, you know, reading is supposed to be fun, and I definitely am trying to remind myself of that fact in October, which I also have like a super ambitious TBR, which I'll have linked up in the info cards if you're interested to check it out. And I'm participating in all these readathons and stuff, but I have to remind myself that, you know what, at the end of the day, a book read is a book read, and making any kind of progress is still progress. But without further ado, I think let's talk about the books that I read in September. As mentioned, I had a pretty good month in September. Maybe not as good as August, but it was still really good nonetheless. I read a total of 12 books in the entire month, which I'm very happy with. I also realized that early on in the year I was reading a lot of audiobooks, and whilst all reading is reading, whether you're listening, reading, whether it's graphic novels or novels, I don't care, reading is reading in my eyes. And I realized at the beginning of the year I was reading a whole lot more audiobooks, so the ratio of audio to physical was a lot different than it is now, and now I'm actually reading more physical books. So it's good to see, because back in like I think May, most of the books I'd read then were audiobooks. I was sitting at work listening to like an audiobook a day kind of situation when I felt like it, and right now I've kind of taken a step back from that just to, you know, catch up on my YouTube videos and that sort of thing, you know, just really get into the spirit of it. So talking about audiobooks, the very first book I listened to this month was The Love Hypothesis by Hazelwood, and I actually mentioned it I think in my August wrap up as well, because I read Love on the Brain, and I actually physically sat and read Love on the Brain, and I really enjoyed it. And then when I read The Love Hypothesis, a lot of people were saying like you would enjoy it more, and that wasn't the case for me. I did still like it. I gave it 4 stars. It was a fantastic read, but I did feel as though Love on the Brain was just that much better. I did think Love on the Brain had a lot more character development. People were saying like, oh my gosh, it's so obvious that The Love Hypothesis is a Raylo fanfic, and I'm like, is it though? Like I can see how, but at the same time, if no one had told me that, I probably wouldn't have noticed. So yeah, I really did think this book was really cute, but I'm still team Levi. But I don't have this book with me anymore because I had to go and give it to my boss, so I lent it to my boss. But the book I read was Nightcrawling by Lynette Motley, and this was fantastic. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize, which is quite an achievement in my opinion. It's phenomenal because Lynette Motley is the youngest person to ever be nominated for a Booker Prize, and that in itself is phenomenal. And you know, this book was incredible. It was lyrical, it was incredible. I really like the way the book flowed, but please do check out the trigger warnings for this book because it is not an easy read. We have a lot going on in this book. It's very short and you fly through it, but you are constantly like shocked at what's happening. So this is definitely one I would check the trigger warnings for, because it is a heavy read. And like still right now, it's been a bit more than a month I think that since I've read it, or like a month since I've read it, and it's still something that like I think about or that I remember quite vividly happening and in my experience reading it. I did already read this with some friends. I'll have them linked down below if you're interested to check that out. But this was just an intense read, and I'm really sad that she wasn't shortlisted for the Booker, because I honestly do think her book was phenomenal. Moving on swiftly, the next book I read was The Prison Healer by Lynette. Noni. This has been making some waves on the online community. I really did enjoy that this is a new adult, like, or an older young adult novel, which is set entirely in a prison, which was very unique. Often in these YA books, I find that you're kind of in the prison for like a little short while. I'm thinking of like Throne of Glass, where we're like in Dovia for like a couple of chapters and then we're gone. This whole thing is set in the prison. I think Lynette Noni does a fantastic job of the setting because it's incredible. But I did feel like it was just an okay YA fantasy. I gave it 4 stars because I really did enjoy my reading experience. I read this also with Rozanne. We tried to do a 24-hour readathon. It was a bit of a fail. I do have to go back and tab my edges because I just studied them whilst I was doing this readathon, but I have the rest of the series like right over there that we're going to be reading quite soon. But I really did enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing how the series continues. I do think that it's predictable, but it's a YA, it's fun, it's easy reading, and I really enjoyed my time in this book. So the next book I have here is from Storm and Shadow by Rachel Morgan. So Rachel Morgan had a bunch of proofs to send out, and I was lucky enough to receive one, which I was really happy about. This is a new book in one of her like really famous series. So the original series is called Creepy Hollow, but it's now just being called like the Creepy Hollow universe, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but this is the first book in the Storm Fae series, but it's set in the same world as her other Creepy Hollow books, and I really like this one. I give this one also 4 stars. Once again, not like amazing, but still one that I absolutely enjoy. I do think Rachel Morgan is one of those South African authors that everyone should read, especially if you like urban fantasy fae books. They're just really great. This one was even better than all of the other ones. I need to go back and tab this, but this was just phenomenal, and she really does an incredible job of her covers. She's a self-published author, and I think this is just fantastic, and I really can't wait to pick up book 2. The way this book ended, like I know from like all of Rachel Morgan's other books, like she always ends the book on a cliffhanger, which is so annoying, but it just makes you so excited to pick up the next book in the series, which I am dying to pick up as soon as it is available. Then the next book I read as part of our 24-hour readathon that I had with Rozanne was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Harley Jackson. This is a series that I constantly pick up, intending to finish the trilogy, but never really do. I still haven't picked up the next book, not because of this isn't good. This book is fantastic. I think I gave it 4 stars, and I really enjoyed this. I thought it was fantastic. I do know that the audiobook for this is full cast, so if you do plan on reading this, do pick it up as an audio. I think because that production value of having a full cast and sound effects and that sort of thing is just so much better than reading, I think, and having to make up those like effects yourself. But this was really great. It's a great thriller that's highly immersive, and I do highly recommend it. This is perfect for your like middle grade teen readers, or just anyone in general who wants to feel like a little sleuth, because it's got mixed media inside and it's just a fantastic read all around. I do think I need to pick up Good Girl, Bad Girl, but like, you never know, the TBR is endless, okay? I need to find a way to squeeze it in because I do want to read it, but it's just a little bit more complicated than just picking it up at this very moment. After like weeks of seeing people talk about this next book, I really just had to pick it up, and that is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I really wanted to pick it up, and I actually picked it up whilst I was away for my birthday, and I really liked this. I gave this also 4 stars. Once again, I thought this reading month was really bad, but I gave a lot of books 4 stars. I do think there's only 1 or 2 5-star reads, but like 4 stars is still a relatively good reading month in my opinion. I feel like I judged myself a little too harshly in September. I really enjoyed Nettle and Bone. It is exactly what people describe it as that cozy fantasy book. I will say, do check the trigger warnings for this book because there is a lot happening in here that does need a trigger warning, because there's abuse. I think not necessarily 100% on page, but it is mentioned. There's a lot of things going on in this book, and whilst it really is a cozy fantasy and you get all of those vibes, I would just double check everything before going into it and reading it. It is a short book, it really does go quickly, and I'm really excited to own a copy of this as soon as I am able. I'm thinking of getting the hardcover just because it is so cute, and I'm really excited to read more of the Kingfisher's books because I think she's a fantastic writer, and I really am looking forward to reading more from her. I then listened to, or rather tried to listen to, an audiobook called Bookish People by Susan Cole, and I did not like this. I DNF'd this within 6% of the book, which is like 30 minutes of listening, if we're being honest. It just was confusing, and I then went and checked out the reviews by other people who had also read the book, and they also found it like very confusing, so I was happy to not be the only one who was like, what is going on in this book? And yeah, I just don't think I'm going to pick this one up ever again. I didn't even soft DNF it. This is a full-on DNF. I then finally picked up Girl, Serpent and Thorn by Melissa Bashardast, and basically this book made its waves on like Bookstagram and YouTube and maybe even Book Talk at a stage. I'm not sure, maybe it was before Book Talk, just because of this cover. It is stunning. This book is a Sapphic Persian mythology inspired book, and it was really fantastic. The world is lush, the writing is gorgeous, and the plot is just so interesting. I read this with Liz, who I'll also have linked down below, and I was really happy that I got to pick this book up with her, because I honestly probably would not have picked it up anytime soon because I'm a massive procrastinator with my TBR books. Yeah, I really am happy that I picked this up. This was another 4-star read. It would have been a 5 if it wasn't for the ending. It just wrapped up that bit too quickly for me, but that's like a very personal thing. I felt like I just wanted to be in the world more, so it's just more of a like I want to be here, I want to continue enjoying the setting, and I would not be mad if the author made like a companion book to this world, because it was just phenomenal. I really did enjoy it. And if you are interested in picking up a like sapphic curses and the princess kind of saves herself, sometimes the princess is the monster, which I thought was a really good spin on the classic tale. This was really great, do recommend. I then once again wrote another book talk book, because I try to do that as often as I can, just to kind of, you know, be in the know, have my own opinions on these books. And the book I picked up is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I hated the ending for this. I will be completely honest with you. It made me so mad. Like, everything else was okay up until that point. Like, I had moments that I enjoyed, like you can kind of see with the sticky tabs, where there was a point where I just stopped tabbing because it made me so mad to read from that point onwards. And I ended up giving this 2 stars because I was just so mad. And I hate the fact that people are romanticizing a character in this book that should not be romanticized. And I'm gonna like reiterate that, do not romanticize this man, because he is not good at all. And people are, and it's just insane, because I'm like, there are real people out there who are living lives like this, and you know, that's not okay. And I understand kind of where Colleen Hoover was coming with this book. Please check the trigger warnings for this, because honestly I thought it was another romance of hers. Obviously a lot of her books are traumatic and feature a lot of trauma, but this one just made me so mad. So the trigger warnings for this are abuse, sexual assault, manipulation, and I am probably gonna read It Starts With Us because it is a book that we are reading in for work, and I will probably be doing a read along for that one, so do keep an eye out on the Jonathan Ball page, which I'll have linked down below if you're interested in participating. People just need to stop romanticizing this character. That's what it gets down to. I then had the absolute privilege of reading Ordinary Monsters by Amira. This book is a behemoth of a book, really massive, but it is incredible. This is a gothic fantasy set in England in the 1800s with characters that have talents, and it's just about found family, and it's just an incredible read. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a fantasy. It is a bit of a slow read, like not a lot happens in this book, but it's all about the vibes, man. It's about the atmosphere, and it was just an incredible read, and I'm so excited to read the second one, which will probably not be out for a very long time, because this book is massive, and I can just imagine how big the second book is going to be. But I have high hopes, and I'm really excited to continue on with the series, and I'm so grateful that I managed to get the hardcover of this. Like it's nothing too like special, but it is such a nice feeling to have this as a hardcover, because this is something that I'll definitely be keeping in my collection for the long time. Massive recommendation from my side, because this book is phenomenal. I then read Blood to Poison by Mary Watson. Mary Watson is a South African writer, and this book is in itself set in South Africa, and I really enjoyed it. So this book is about a girl who has been cursed, her bloodline has been cursed, and she tries or hopes to break this curse because it is going to kill her sooner rather than later. And this book was just charged with rage. There is an author note by Mary Watson talking about why she wrote about this book and why she mentions things like apartheid and colonialism and how it affects people to this day still. And it's just a really fantastic read. It had me on the edge of my seat constantly because it's so fast paced, and you just really are making your way through this book, in my opinion. And it was just a really fantastic read. Highly recommend this one if you're looking for a real life fantasy book that features witches and curses and maybe a forbidden romance. Maybe, depends on which way you look at it, I guess. The very last book I have here is one that I was really happy to get on my desk at work because I was just really wanting to read it, and that is Ruination by Anthony Reynolds. This is a League of Legends book, and if you know anything about me, is that I love gaming. I am such a gamer. I don't really play League of Legends as much as I probably should based on how badly I wanted this book, but I do play things like TFT. Gosh, that's like the superior Riot game. No, actually Valorant is a superior Riot game, and you can come at me for that. This was a fantastic read. Really loved reading this, and I had a great time like throughout it. It is a fantastic book for old fans, new fantasy readers, old fantasy readers. Like, this is a book for everyone, in my opinion. It is such a great like little base of knowledge, a little book of knowledge, the lore behind Callista, Viego, Thresh is even in here. I'm not gonna say who that is, but like it's just such a fantastic time. And you know, this world is very lush. The world of League of Legends is just such a very lush world, and I really hope that they do more books in this world or in this series, because it was just a phenomenal time and I highly recommend it. So yeah, it's like an easy fantasy world with a wide range of characters that you can really get into the depth of the story. So I really love this one. And those are all the books that I read in September. But this was such a great TBR wrap up because, as I mentioned, like I was judging myself so much for having not read a lot, but like now I actually realized how much I've read and how much I ended up reading, especially since some of these books are some chunky boys, okay? And I just had a really great time. I'm obviously looking forward to seeing what I've read in October. I'm excited to bring you my October wrap up at the end of the month, but right now I'm enjoying the books. I hope that you are too. If you've read any of these books and you want to tell me how you feel, please do. I'm really enjoying the reading this year. I think it is like one of my best reading years yet, and that says a lot because I've been reading for like forever now. But yeah, thank you so very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.